Good day to all our viewers out there. My name is Heinrich Neertling and welcome to Mathematical Literacy. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at the topic of maps and plans and other representations of the physical world. But more specifically, we'll focus on the topic of scales. Now let me share something very interesting with you. Did you know that bar scales are the most commonly used scales? Right? It stays accurate even when maps are enlarged or reduced. Also important is that only the bar scale will still represent the same distance in real life, but the number scale will not be correct. Okay, so we will be looking at scales today. So what are our lesson objectives? So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to, first of all, differentiate between read and interpret the different types of scales. You must be able to explain the meaning of a given scale. Also, know the advantages as well as the disadvantages of a different scale. Determine the scale of a map or drawing in the form 1:x or whatever that will be. And then use a ruler to measure accurately. Very important skill. And then know how to use scales successfully. Okay, then lastly, you must be able to determine the actual dimensions, say for example, a building or whatever we might present to you. Now let's look at today's lesson or concept map. As I've indicated, our main topic here today will be scales, but we'll look at number scales and thereafter we'll focus on bar scales. Now let's quickly look at some other important information that you should know by now. Okay, so I've indicated here that scale drawings represent the actual size, right, and shape of an object on paper. You should also know that each dimension of the actual object is either reduced or enlarged by a certain ratio. Very key. And this is called the scale factor. Okay? Dimensions are used to describe the size and the shape of an object. And then we know with our 2D figures, right, we'll have dimension length and width, or we also sometimes refer to it as the breadth. And when we look at 3D figures, right, the dimensions will be your length, your width, and your height. Then the two types of scales, as I've already indicated, is your number scale and your bar scale. Now let's do a quick practice, right, just to check where we're at this moment in time. So I want you to work with me. So the first question here says, name the two types of scales that are commonly used. Right now, if you've listened to my opening statement, I've indicated that our focus today will be on your number scale. So that's the first scale we'll be looking at. And then the second one will be your bar scale. So this is the two commonly types of scales that we use. All right, question number 2. Consider the scale 1:250. Right, so I would like to know the 250, right, in this ratio is known as what? I agree. This here we call the scale factor. Are we all clear? So that is our scale factor. Then our next question, it says, explain what the scale 1:700 means. Okay, so here we'll say it simply means that 1 unit, and I want you to take note of the word unit. 1 unit. Let's say, for example, we are working with a map. So I'll say 1 unit on the map represents or is equals to 700 units in reality. Guys, are we clear on that? I don't want us to use any other units like centimeters, meters, because I've noticed that most of the time learners mix up. For example, they say 1 centimeter on the map equals to 100 kilometers, for example. Okay, so let's rather focus on the word unit. So 1 unit on the map represents or is equals to 700 units in real life or reality. Then question number 4. State whether the following statement is true or false. So here's our statement. With digital printing, number scales become inaccurate and useless if there is any resizing of the map or plan. So guys, in this case, the answer is definitely true. Remember I said bar scales are the most accurate, especially when resizing is happening. So our answer to question number 4 is true. Okay. Then we have a question 5. It says measure the bar scale alongside in centimeters. Now remember I said measure, that's your instruction. And also important, it must be in centimeters. Remember to our ruler we have two sides, it's either millimeters or centimeters. So in this case I'm very specific, it must be measured in centimeters. I want you to know we start measuring, put 0 here, and we will measure all the way up to that last line there, or point if you want to put it like that. So in my case, I've measured this to be equals to 6 centimeters. Okay, please make sure that you can use your ruler accurately. Then question number 6, hence now explain the meaning of this scale. So this simply means that 6 centimeters on the map, you can see I already made the mistake there, so 6 centimeters on the map is equals to 30 kilometers in reality. Okay, so I've measured the 6 centimeters, so the 6 centimeters on the map represent basically 30 kilometers in reality. Now let's quickly run through the different types of scales, the number scale and the bar scale, just highlight some important aspects of it. I indicated here that the number scale is also known as a numerical scale. Okay, it's always written in the form 1 is to something else, right? In this case, the 1 represents measurement on the map, and then we have our reality there. Then this means that every unit on this specific map is equals to 500 units in real life. When we look at the bar scale on the other hand, bar scale is also known as a linear or graphic scale. Okay? By measuring the map distance between 2 points, and we'll do that later on in our lesson, and comparing this distance with the bar scale of the map, you are able to work out the distance between the 2 points in reality. Okay? What else is important? The 500, as I've indicated earlier on, is known as your scale factor. Okay? And then scales are written in a ratio form, which implies that you are comparing equivalent units. When we look at our number scale, remember, no particular units are given or indicated when you write your scale. Then in terms of our bar scale, units are very important, and we'll see later on in our lesson, right? It's a very important part of the bar scale. Shows a very specific relationship between the measured length of the line segment on the bar scale and the actual length. Guys, let us quickly take a short break. After the break, we'll put all of this into context. See you now.